I'm ready, dude. Are you guys ready? All right. I have not reread what we read yesterday. So, going off our memory, just quick digest this 2-minute chat. Klein goes to Chernobyl. He discovers an alleged Amon that's separate from the originals. Do 230 if possible. Okay. 230 possible, by the way. All right, I got you. He goes to Chernobyl. An alleged Amon is coming out of this empty crater, which was where the Chaos Sea originates from. So Chaos Sea is under Chernobyl, and it's all the oil is there. All the crude oil was there all along. All the scientists that we presumed from our era were analyzing it, going insane, going mad, changing, losing control. Amazing email, by the way, to represent losing control, Amon. Thank you. Love you. They lose control, and we find out that the first blasphemy slate originated allegedly from Amon's presumption from the Chaos Sea, and then ancients. Who created the second blasphemy slate? The second blasphemy slate was created from the ancient sun god, right? And then when he asked, "What's the difference?" The second ancient sun god body. Oh, he didn't make it from his body. Got it. Thank you, Unknown. So from his, like, when his body was devoured in Eden, from the three people, that's when the second blasphemy slate originated. Wait, hold up. Now I have another question. When the ancient sun god was Eden, wasn't there like a baby born from the body? Wasn't that alleged the true creator? Like, he was born from the body, something attracted it above the ground. The second slate was from the something attracted it above ground. We don't know what attracted it above ground. But the second blasphemy slate came from ancient sun god's body. Okay. And then the second blasphemy slate contains knowledge for transcending sequences, which means you go past sequence 0. And when you go past sequence 0, you've basically reached like the cosmos, like the greater ones, the old ones. Like I wrote it down. You become them. So you're above and you're stronger. And the only person that was ever as close to that scale was the ancient sun god. Allegedly. No, you said it right before. The second slate is ancient sun god's corpse. Okay, so it came from his body. We don't know the exact time frame, but yes, after his death, some of his body became the second slate. Wow, what the fuck? And then when to reiterate, because I've not reread this, you can tell I haven't reread this. I'm kind of like, so when Amon revealed this to Klein, when Amon revealed all this information to Klein, we found out Amon was lying, and he was still trying to get access to Sephira Castle, right? One of the 9 Sephiroths. But Klein snapped back quickly when he was thinking about like everything he's been warned ahead of time. And then when he discovered this information, that's when like the greater ones, the cosmos from the moon, looked directly at Klein. Yes? When he found out that knowledge, that's when they looked at him from the moon. Theories on how you become a great old one, dude. I assume it has something to do with uniqueness, because the only one that I think it's ever going to reach the skill, it's probably Evernight. The fact that she's been such an enigma, no, not just not just the moon, all of them. Yeah, all the other fucking planets in our solar system. Thank you. All the other fucking planets in our solar system just looked at Klein. From the moon and the other planets, moon is wow, bro. What the fuck? I can't get over that. Like, motherfuckers, we're going to space? Oh my god, that is so cool. That is so fucking badass when you read something that isn't really sci-fi, ends up having this fucking sci-fi element out of nowhere. Get the fuck out of here. That is amazing. But it's like it's a very mystical sci-fi. Bro, we don't want to go to space. No, I know we don't want to go to space. But it'd be so cool if we do go to space. All right. So I think I got it. Now, what I find crazy, why space? Now, what I find crazy, why the fuck did they look at Klein when he found out this info? If this was the first time where that, like, happened in the sky, it never happened when Amon They would jump us if we go. Yeah, they would definitely jump us if we go to space. I think Evernight is the one protecting us. I genuinely think she's the one, like, if the moon is like our satellite that orbits our planet, maybe she's using that like as a barrier to like conceal us and protect. Oh, Jesus Christ. Hallelujah. Concealment. Oh, I'm onto something. Wait. Evernight concealment. She's like concealing us. She's protecting us from all these outer ones. All she's protecting us from the cosmos. Okay. And also because he's wait. Because he got detailed information about them, their names and what they represent. And also because he's under sequence too. But like, wouldn't that same reaction happen to Amon when he found out? Because if Amon is telling Klein all this information, he would have had to have known already prior. But it's like, literally stated nothing. There has never been an interaction like this before. But why would a sequence 0 power be stronger than the greater old ones? That's a very good question, Unknown. Ariana told you to have it be enjoyed. That's a very good question, Amon. I don't know, man. You gotta tell me, man. Are you on our side right now, or are you against us? Let's keep reading. Anyways, let's keep reading. Wow, that was like 6 minutes of just chatting. I thought it was gonna be 2 minutes. My bad. Chapter 1225 is called Counseling. When he heard Mistress's slightly bleak and confused words, Klein could empathize with her. This was because he had previously had similar thoughts after recalling snippets from self-help books. He deliberated and said, a father's death is so insignificant to the entirety of Loan. One or more cases might happen every day, but to his child's family, it has something that can change their fate. Similarly, if we don't reach the level of an angel, everyone's outcome will be sealed, deaths, and be buried. But this doesn't mean that the time from when we were born to the time when we die is meaningless. Audrey nodded slightly when she heard that. She once again said in a self-deprecating tone, I understand all of this, however, the secrets you mentioned have a huge impact on me, and I couldn't control my emotions. As a psychiatrist, I actually needed someone else to counsel me. Klein smiled and said, isn't it very normal? Many times we can tell if someone else's condition is normal, but we can't clearly see our own problems. Didn't you mention that you and Susie console each other from time to time? Due to the fact that Dwayne Dantas has seen Susie, the golden retriever, Audrey didn't hide anything related to her during their chats. Audrey nodded gently and said, yes, that's right. I've already straightened my thoughts out. I should do what I can and not leave any regrets. Qualitative. She gradually adjusted her mental state. Klein then said, it's not just a matter of not leaving any regrets. We might be able to add, oh, you mean like it's a qualitative perspective thing. Okay. It's not that just a matter of not leaving any regrets. We might be able to add to the forces that resist against the apocalypse. Oh, I forgot to pick stream up here. Oh, I have the wrong stream picture. I'm sorry. Compared to the whole, this might be trivial, but even the vastest desert is made up of grains and sand. The boundless ocean is also formed by droplets of water. As long as everyone sends out as much light as the heat inside them, it might bring some hope. Sends out as much light as the heat inside them. Audrey repeated the keywords and German Sparrow's words softly. Do not quote me, Klein added with a smile. The corners of Audrey's mouth curled up as she replied with a faint smile. Could it be something Emperor Rizal said? That I don't know. I have to endure a strong sense of shame when flipping through his quotations. I hadn't finished reading it all this time. Klein didn't give an affirmative answer, nor did he deny it. Instead, he said, start hypnotizing me and let me forget things related to the cosmos and only remember the corresponding reminder. A little while longer, I would like your advice on something. Audrey openly made a request. She took this opportunity to recount what she had been doing recently, as well as the difficulties and perplexities she had encountered. Mr. World, what suggestions do you have? What should I do to lessen the suffering of people of Backland before the war ends? I don't know if we can, man. By the way, remember the info that gods used to walk the land before the fifth Bach. They stopped after that, and the apocalypse is getting closer. It was already. I do remember that for some reason they stopped walking the land after the fifth epoch was the first time where like gods just stopped walking the land. I do remember that part. Okay. As for stopping the war, damn. I guess there's been so many hints from the very beginning. What the fuck, dude? As for stopping the war, although she wanted to, she knew that she didn't have the ability to do so. At the same time, she also understood that even Mr. World wouldn't be able to do it. Even if Mr. Fool personally intervened, he would he would at most be able to turn the situation around. There was no way to stop the war. After all, this world war was essentially a battle between deities. After hesitating for a few seconds, Klein calmly said, although the spectator pathway tries to act behind the scenes as much as possible, and although I always keep the words caution and carefulness in mind for everything I do not put myself in a dangerous situation. Cap. When he said this, Audrey subconsciously thought to herself, from the various rumors at sea, the description of Fours and the others, and a demigod battle eyewitness, I really can't see the caution and carefulness. Fucking Audrey. There's only dominance and radicalism. To be able to do something and survive on strength alone is not needed enough. Was used that info to make the theory they went to fight something? Oh, like they fought something lost? Well, I don't know, man. I feel like Evernight has to be up to something, right? Like, she's probably, like, hiding in the moon. She's digesting the uniqueness of the death pathway for whatever reason. And I don't know, man. I don't imagine walking on the street casually and seeing ASG eating a burger at a fast food. Like, yo, what the fuck? What are you doing here, bro? Oh, shit. Seeing that Miss Justice was listening seriously with her green eyes filled with attentiveness, he continued, in this world, nothing can be easily resolved without taking risks. Some things I do with the thought that death is a possibility. The muttering in Audrey's heart stopped. She fell silent for a while before slowly saying, I understand what you mean. There are many times when you can't do what you want while ensuring absolute safety. You can also choose one of them. Klein nodded and decided to let Miss Justice understand the reality of this world better so as to prevent her from being overly idealistic when she did things. The method you mentioned just now is the most feasible with the least risks. The people who can help the people of Backland are the nobles, churches and businessmen, and the royal family. Why don't we rob Facek, Intis, and Phantom Potter army of their food? That's a really good idea. Audrey subconsciously asked. Klein calmly said, this is because the three armies have already entered the Lowing Kingdom's borders. Oh shit. Even if you can escape a demigod's notice and successfully snatch the food, they will not collapse. They will definitely snatch the food from the surrounding people from first sustenance, so our people. The effects will not be significant in the short term. As for the long term, we might not have the luxury of time to wait for that long. When that happens, it was obvious to Audrey who would be the true victims. This was the difference between a war between the deities and an ordinary war. Besides, I'm able to do that. The capacity of a traveler's bag is limited. It's the same thing for teleportation. Recorded in layman's travels, just as Audrey began to call to herself as she asked thoughtfully, if I were to really obtain food from the nobles, businessmen, and royal families, what reaction will the church have when they discover traces of my interference? I don't think they should care, man. If she's helping them out, who cares? Klein maintained his previous tone and said, a tactic quesis? A tactic quiescence. Cannot pronounce that word. Audrey vaguely felt that this was the answer, but she couldn't figure out the reason. Klein continued, believers are the anchors of the deities. One believer is an anchor point. In this aspect, there's no difference between a noble and a poor person. And in essence, no one is nobler or lower. That's a good way. Under normal circumstances, nobles and merchants can use their status, powers, wealth, and influence to help the church maintain its system and spread its faith. Therefore, they are more important. But in the situation, who is more important, thousands of anchors or millions of anchors? This is a simple problem in mathematics. Faced with the truth of the veil that had been ripped off, Audrey was momentarily speechless. Oh wait, and then there's a whole thing about, like, what was it? The curtain? I don't remember the part where I said both wrong. The one thing I'm not remembering is how the curtain came into place. Like the veil, I don't remember how that, the curtain we saw, or like the fabric, that I don't remember. The piece of cloth, that I don't remember how that came into play when that was revealed. And I assume that probably has something to do with transmigrating. When we think back to like episode 1 of the Dunkwa, faced with the truth of the veil that had been ripped off, Audrey was momentarily speechless. Seeing this, Klein, I'm gonna raise the volume. Klein added, "You'll get more about it later." Okay, we'll get more later. Seeing this, Klein added, from this point of view, whatever you want to do is a wider level has its meanings. You will help the Evernight Goddess and the Lords of Storm stabilize their anchors. In the future, this might be critical to resisting the apocalypse. Audrey pursed her lips bit by bit, holding them pursed for a long time before relaxing them. She chuckled and said, only now do I realize that I'm actually a little proud of my status as a noble. Wait, what if all the Orthodox gods were originally at the same level as all the outer ones, and then I guess when they all lost, they were all placed in this like concealed state. Just how like how we've talked about how Renette is like in this different state where she's not in her prime, but she's like still around. Like maybe that's them. Like all the other Orthodox gods, like they're not in their prime state because they lost during the war, and I guess that's maybe why they're not descending. That's something I'm thinking right now. That just came to me right now. Like, maybe that's why. Audrey pursed her lips bit by bit, holding them pursed for a long time before relaxing. She chuckled and said, "Only now do I realize that I'm actually a little proud of my status as a noble. Nobility is in your character, not status." Klein helped her finish her sentence. Audrey slowly exhaled and calmed her chaotic inner thoughts. She didn't make up her mind as a result. She casually said, "Our Tarot Club and the church, the relationship with the Church of the Evernight seems pretty good. Mr. Full and the Evernight Goddess are allies." Hell yeah, dude. This question stunned me. I do wish to become allies with the goddess, but she might not be interested. After lampooning a few times, Klein said in a serious tone, "You can think of them as allies at the moment." That's only Klein's theory for now. He deliberately emphasized that it was only now so as to prevent himself from being slapped in the face by reality in the future. At that moment, he muttered the real answer in his heart. Based on the current situation, the goddess was an angel investor of the Tarot. Based on the current situation, the goddess was an angel investor of the Tarot Club, the major shareholder. Audrey nodded slowly and suddenly smiled. Goff wants you to read his DM for the D&D thing. Oh shit, I'll do that right now after stream done. Oh shit, my bad. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't see I saw your message yesterday. I just didn't open it. I'm so sorry, Goff. My bad. No. I see you, Goff. My bad. Sorry. I know. Sorry. I got back to you late. I'll get back to you right now after. I was just thinking about what you could be mumbling inwardly when you answered allies at the moment. It's just interesting, just like when we were exploring Livsiad. Lady, a psychiatrist isn't suited to joking with a patient on such matters. Is it because we've been chatting for too long in the past half year and have become much more familiar with each other than you've revealed your true nature? Please show some respect to the adventurer in front of you who is famous for being cold and crazy. Yes, I have to say the Spectre of the Pathway's ability to adjust to their own emotions is indeed impressive. It was all Lenard's fault that time. Klein was first taken aback before he pretended that nothing had happened as he leaned back into his chair. Let's begin. Audrey immediately reined in her emotions and began to seriously and carefully attempt to hypnotize him. After everything was over, Klein confirmed that Miss Justice wasn't under the notice of the Great Old Ones through the Crimson Star after she returned to the real world. Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, they definitely don't go too well. Of course, he had already forgotten anything regarding the Great Old Ones or the... Oh, so he's gone. He forgot it. Of course, he had already forgotten anything regarding the Great Old Ones or outer deities. He was just able to confirm that nothing abnormal had happened from Miss Justice's conditions. What? Klein heaved a sigh of relief. He threw the piece of paper that could awaken his memories into the junk pile, told himself to wait until he became an angel. Backland Bridge area in an apartment, Emlyn White looked at Merrick, who had suddenly appeared in front of him. The former took off his hat and bowed in an extremely gently manner. What's the matter? Merrick sat on the sofa and leaned forward with his hands clasped. Emlyn pulled a chair and sat down. He smiled and asked, "Do you wish to deal with the important figures of the Rose Skull of Thought's indulgence faction? Do you have any leads?" Merrick asked indifferently. Emlyn was definitely prepared before he paid a visit, so he said unhurriedly, "I do not have any clues regarding the person in charge of the Rose Skull of Thought in Backland. However, after the war escalated, the southern continent, East and West Balam, Star Highlands, Paz Valley, and Hagenti Plains have been thrown into chaos. Many of the Rose Skull of Thought demigods have emerged and walked out of the stage. They are no longer so difficult to lock onto." Merrick looked at the red-eyed and thin-lipped Emlyn and said, "Which Duke or Marquise of the Sanguine are you representing?" "Am I not allowed to represent myself?" Emlyn raised his chin slightly and asked with a smile. Look at this dude stepping up. Merrick shook his head seriously and said, "You are only Sequence 5. You aren't qualified enough." Bro, he was Sequence 5 not so long ago himself. He had said it so directly that Emlyn was momentarily at a loss for words. Damn. Chapter 1226 is called Handing Out Mushrooms. Emlyn maintained his smile and calmed himself down before responding. "I can find helpers of a sufficient level." He didn't wish to borrow the forces of the Sanguine too much on this matter, because if that happened, he would undoubtedly end up as a liaison. I cannot pronounce that word. So far, there's one word per chapter. As a liaison, a bystander, and a messenger, he would not have any say in the eventual distribution of the spoils of war. As for the Sanguine Dukes or the Marquises, did I do that? Yes, I updated. As for the Sanguine dukes and the marquises, they had no lack of direct descendants who wished to advance to become a demigod and become an earl. At the very beginning, Emlyn believed in his identity of the Sanguine savior. He believed that the important figures would treat every single member fairly. However, as the Hanged Man analyzed the various high-level Sanguines' orders from the Marquis Nibs and the other high-level Sanguines, Emlyn gradually became wary of them. He frowned slightly and said, "Sherlock Moriarty." Emlyn was puzzled as he shifted in his seat. "Why do you think it's him? If it was in the past, he would have directly said, 'Why are you mentioning Sherlock Moriarty? He has been away from Backland for nearly 2 years.' But now he could acutely grasp that there was some hidden information in Merrick's words. He subconsciously adjusted his question. He's so dense, bro. He should know this by now, dude. In the eyes of this rave, Sherlock Moriarty isn't simple. Yes, indeed he isn't simple. As he spoke, Emlyn made a guess. Upon hearing Emlyn's questions, Merrick's expression immediately turned odd, as though it was his first time meeting this Sanguine Viscount. He quickly restrained his abnormality on the surface, and without emotions, we need to consider it. "I hope you can come up with a more convincing plan the next time we meet." "No problem." Emlyn secretly heaved a sigh of relief. He immediately stood up and bowed gently. After deciding of the means of communication, he put on his silk hat and walked out of the room. As he returned to his residence, Emlyn couldn't help but run through his initial plan. "As long as I complete a cooperative agreement with the demigod of the Rose Skull Thoughts Temperance faction, I can use it to apply for a grade 1 sealed artifact from the Marquis and the Dukes of the race, using the reason that it's under the cooperating partner behest that they object to having demigods of the race be involved. I can stop them from directly interfering. Yes, in order to make an agreement, I have to show enough strength to convince Merrick and the others." He has to show his own strength. Okay, good. "I can only commission the mission at the Terror Club and to see if Ma'am Hermit, Miss Justice, Mr. Hangman are willing to accept the commission. Miss Magician can also be considered. She can summon the projection of Gurman Sparrow. The biggest problem now is that I can't provide enough compensation. I can only try to make an advance or a promise. Once I become an earl, I'll return the payment one by one." With this in mind, Emlyn suddenly felt thankful that he had joined the Terror Club. This was the only organization that he knew that could use a future promise to exchange for the current material goods. And within the Sanguine or the Orthodox churches, one had to accumulate enough contributions until one reached the end of the line where the characteristics and the advancement ritual was awarded. Sometimes a Beyonder might not be able to accumulate enough contributions in their entire life. Damn, that's sad. This is like a credit loan underwritten by Mr. Full. It can be used to issue missions, and when the advancement succeeds, it can be paid in installments. Emlyn habitually learned to lean towards the things that he was familiar with. Although he had never borrowed money from the bank, some of the Sanguines had rich experience in such areas and would often talk within their own circles. Most of them had a fixed, expensive hobby, just like his dolls. The precious items might not be liquidated easily anytime, so they had no choice but to borrow money from the close friends or the bank to ensure the necessary cash flow. Emlyn remembered that there was a Sanguine who wasn't good at wealth management. He relied solely on his profession as a doctor to earn money. When he took a fancy to a piece of art, he bought it using a loan from Backland's bank. After that, he couldn't bear to pledge his property up for the mortgage. Exploiting his long life, he spent 200 years repaying the debts. Of course, in the name his father had died, and the son took over the debt. When the son died, the grandson took over the debt. Emlyn's evaluation of this was very honest. Northborough and Backland, outside St. Samuel Cathedral, the citizens lined up with rows as they received the grilled bread, dried mushrooms, preserved fruits, and other foods from the workers of the Low and Poverty Relief Foundation. Their lines extended from the main entrance of the cathedral all the way to the square and circled in several times. At a glance, it was densely packed with people. Audrey stood at the steps behind Melissa and took in everything. Oh shit, she's still there? Why would he look at the art now? No, we'll look at it later. We'll look at it later. Maybe in between the chapters if you guys want. She saw the pale faces of the citizens. Her eyes were filled with longing, seeing a mother holding a baby in her arms. She anxiously coaxed the children while eagerly observing the line. Oh my god, I have a dry throat today. Coaxed the children while eagerly observing the lines in front of her that didn't seem to shorten. She saw many people dressed in bright colors, formal suits and long skirts. Some of them pressed down their hats and wore veils as if they didn't want the people around them to recognize them. At times, some people didn't want to keep order and were dragged out by the priests and the policemen who were helping maintain order. They were thrown to the back of the lines. As food was delivered, the cloth-backed piles behind the long table slowly dwindled until there was none. Finally, all the food had been distributed, but the long line had only been reduced by half. Damn, a shitload of people. The citizens who were unable to receive the help couldn't resist revealing their disappointment, frustration, and reluctance. However, they didn't make a scene or argue. They moved their feet mechanically towards the other handout points. They had experienced this many times in the past 1 or 2 months. They had long known that unnecessary emotions would only waste the energy they had little of. It would hamper their quick movements to the other relief points of the fair-priced food outlets. At this moment, their expressions were numb, their eyes vacant as they left the square like a bunch of zombies. During this process, a woman carrying a child had her legs give way as she fell to the ground. Her child started wailing loudly, his voice laced with pain. As she cried, the child sobbed and said, "Mommy, I'm so hungry. There'll be food soon. There'll be food soon. There'll be food at Memorial Square." The woman carried the child and patted his back. Tears streamed down her face as she spoke. Fuck, man, I'm getting... Shut a little jump scare. I'm getting a little emotional. As she spoke, upon seeing the scene, Audrey was just about to say something when she saw Melissa take out a plate of food from... Oh, thank you, Melissa. From a wooden crate under a long table and run towards the mother and the son. I didn't see it just now. There's still one more. Melissa crouched down and handed her the bread, dried mushrooms, and the preserved fruits. Then she explained in a soft voice, afraid that it would cause a dispute among citizens. That's true, it would. The rest of the food was actually prepared for the foundation staff who had been busy all this while. The portion that Melissa had given them was hers. The woman took the food and handed it to the child as she said repeatedly, "Thank you, thank you." The child hugged the food tightly and mimicked his mother in his nascent voice, "Thank you, thank you." Audrey subconsciously looked around and noticed that the church's priests, most of the police, as well as the Nighthawks, who were mixed among the people to secretly prevent any accidents, were all showing sympathy, pity, and sadness. After the citizens had left, Audrey picked up her own set of food and handed it to Melissa. "You deserve it." Melissa looked at Miss Hall before her and shook her head. "I give my own share. Miss Audrey, don't worry. I'll have food when I get home. My brother is a civil servant." With a faint smile, Audrey stuffed the grilled bread, dried mushrooms, and preserved fruits into Melissa's hands. "You don't have to worry about me. My family has prepared snacks for me when I'm out busying myself." As she spoke, she took a wooden box from her personal maidservant Annie and opened it for Melissa to see. The wooden box contained exquisite cucumber sandwiches, cream muffins, and a small carrot cake. A look of astonishment appeared on Melissa's face. She stared at the snacks for a few seconds before looking at Miss Audrey Hall. She immediately lowered her head and said, without saying a word, she ate the grilled bread and water in the St. Samuel Cathedral had prepared. Damn, this is fucked up. She is still a noble? She's still noble with all that fucking money. This moment, Audrey's still noble, but it's beautiful that she's still helping. As if petrified by her gaze, Audrey held the wooden box and stood rooted to the ground. For a few seconds, she didn't move and only pursed her lips tightly. After the fifth batch of residents from Moon City received cleansing and treatment and enjoyed magical mushrooms, this ancient city became a believer of the full without any residents. Damn. It welcomed the saint and the oracle, Germansprout, into the city. With that, Klein held a large mass and used the unshuttered crucifix in the life skein to heal the remaining Moon City residents. High Priest Nim, who had finished his quarantine, came out and respectfully asked at the end of the mass, Oracle, what is the complete honorific name of the mighty lord? He's called the Oracle. Klein looked around and said solemnly with his face tightened, the fool that doesn't belong to this era. After giving out the honorific name, he specifically emphasized, don't chant the complete honorific name in normal times. Do so only when important matters arise. Otherwise, as Mr. Fool, he would suffer a mental breakdown from all the phone calls from work. Nim wasn't surprised at all because the ancient sun god was the same. After some thought, he asked, what are the requirements for the ritual of the Lord? Klein said confidently, like a charlatan, God says 8 commandments, serve me with your heart, not with your offerings. The most important thing for a ritual is to be pious. There are no other requirements. It can be very simple. After all, the Lord does not care. After saying that, Klein silently added in his heart. After explaining this, he raised his right hand and pointed at the pile of mushrooms in front of him. The Lord has bestowed these mushrooms to you because he wants you to enjoy a bumper harvest. These mushrooms are nourished from the flesh and blood of monsters. They can rapidly grow and accumulate all toxins, corruptions, and madness into the pure black mushrooms. This can be used as a medium for the curses or the smear that the heads of an arrows. The Moon City residents listened in excitement as he clasped their heads and bowed their heads, shouting, praise be to the full. At this moment, it was as if Klein could hear the countless illusory voices coming from the air. They were all mixed with real praise, circling him and anchoring him. Oh shit, wait, he's making his anchors. Wait, what the fuck? This is so true. We went from having one dog shit believer to having like an entire we're not calling you know who dog shit, just that's his vocabulary. But it's like now like we have an entire city of people that are now going to be our anchors. Oh shit, this is good. Oh, this is hype. Chapter 1227 is called Summoning Ritual. I'm joking, Bullseye. I'm like, oh yeah, the one guy that hid in the cave, yeah, the goat. Yeah. No, okay, we love him. We love the Nits. We love him. I was really hoping that he'd be like, I don't know, like the Watson to his Sherlock, you know, like during that whole like pirate German Sparrow arc. But no, it didn't happen. But you know what's cool? We still love him. Chapter 1227 is called Summoning Ritual. After Mass, Klein fucking holding Mass. After Mass, Klein followed the newly appointed Priest of the Fool, Nim, into the Black Tower. With no reservations, Nim gave a detailed description of how many demigods and Grade 1 sealed artifacts there were in Moon City. 3 demigods, 5 Grade 1 sealed artifacts. Moon City isn't weak at all, as expected of the power that can directly receive a revelation and guard the border. Furthermore, they had people relatively well distributed across the 22 Beyonder pathways in the beginning. They could work together effectively so that some rituals didn't need any requests for external help or become restricted by the environment. Yes, compared to the City of Silvers and how their surroundings is worse and how they do not have grade 0 sealed artifacts to support them, it's already extraordinary for them to survive to this day. If it wasn't because they couldn't find suitable food, they should be able to survive in the darkness for centuries. Klein felt wistful after hearing the introduction. At this moment, Nin said respectfully, Oracle, we are all willing to sacrifice all the sealed artifacts and Beyonder characteristics to the Lord. I wonder which one of them will be more pleasing to him. The High Priest had previously mentioned that apart from him, a Night Watcher, Moon City had also had an Iron-Blooded Knight and an Imperative Mage. They were all respectively the Lightning Priest and Night Priest. As for the 5 Grade 1 sealed artifacts, one of them belonged to the Monster Pathway. It seemed to be a portion of the Misfortune Mage characteristic, mixed with a little of Chaos Walker's characteristics. One of them came from the puppet for the Mutant Pathway, and the others were bestowed by the Red Angel The others came from Red Angel Medici himself? Well, yeah, I know it did happen in the beginning, but like, I thought it was gonna be like throughout, like all of it from like beginning to end. But then Anderson came along, and he was even more of a badass. And I was like, all right, now I'm an Anderson stan. But I know what you mean. I know what you mean. From Red Angel Medici, it allowed everyone to gather all their powers together. One of them was suspected to be the amalgamation of a bizarre sorcerer's characteristic, and there was one of the Unknown Pathway. It had extremely strong, discriminant abilities, but it was rather dangerous due to the unknown corruption. Hearing that, Klein's eyelids twitched as he smiled. Serve the Lord. Damn, man, that's true, dude. Serve the Lord with your heart, not with your offerings. The Lord accommodates the entire world and doesn't care about these things. Having said that, he paused and said, of course, if you don't mind, you can bring me around for a tour to broaden my horizons. No problem, Nim answered without hesitation. He originally imagined the Gurgin Sparrow would take away a grade 1 sealed artifact while taking the tour, but to his surprise, the Oracle only wanted to get a better understanding of the specific situations and had no intention of reaping any benefits. He picked up every sealed artifact to take a look, all of them? To take a look, that sounds dangerous. Picked up every sealed artifact to take a look, but then put them back in the end. After the tour ended, Klein said to the 3 demigod priests, the opportunity to leave this cursed land isn't here yet. You need to hold on for a while longer, and I will continue my journey to find the other survivors and spread the light of the Lord. Yes, Oracle Nim, the other priests replied without any hesitation. With those mushrooms, they would be spared for annihilation for at least another 3 generations. After settling the matters in Moon City, Klein walked out into the darkness in his trench coat and top hat. What he was going to do next was very clear. Find Dark Demonic Wolf Quarter and hunt for this God of Wishes. Oh shit, here we go, man. Lag? My wish is to obtain the Miracle Invoker's Beyond characteristics and that curtain. I wonder... Oh shit, the curtain. Here we go. My wish is to obtain the Miracle Invoker Beyond a characteristic from Dark Demonic Wolf Quarter and that curtain. I wonder if he will be able to help me achieve it. As Klein walked, he made a mockery in his heart. With him out of sight of Moon City's residents, he pulled another hymn out of the fog of history. His main body entered the historical void, causing his consciousness to shift to the projection. This projection also summoned the historical projection and the Staff of the Stars. With its Beyonder powers, he descended directly into the place in his mind. The completely destroyed northern ancient city noise. After successfully reaching his destination, the projection quickly disappeared and Klein's body returned to the wilderness outside of Moon City. Following that, he summoned the Staff of Stars projection that represented the process, allowing him to instantly reach the noise city ruins. The main purpose of the historical void's projection was to scout ahead and ensure that the scenes that surfaced in his mind were identical to the real world. Without having any discrepancies, this prevented the Staff of Stars from creating its random effects. This was the cautiousness of a scholar of yore. In the middle of the quiet and dark training grounds of the city of Silver, Colin Iliad, who was carrying 2 swords on his back, stood by the side. He watched as Derek Burke set up the ritual and prayed to Mr. Fool, asking him to send a Holy Spirit down upon him to provide him with help. This was different from a normal summoning ritual. The corresponding incantation was more complicated. The Great Fool, you are the ruler above the Great Fog. You are the king of yellow and black who wields good luck. I pray for your loving grace. I pray for your notice. I pray for the power of concealment and change. I summoned in the name of the Great Fool, the Holy Spirit that sees everything, the loving grace of the King of... That is a long-ass honorific. What the fuck? The Holy Spirit that sees through everything, the loving grace of the King of Yellow and Black, the traveler from the dream and the mind. As the Jonathan words echoed at the altar, the flames at the tip of the candle suddenly expanded, forming an illusory door covered in mysterious patterns. The door slowly opened, and a woman wearing a pure white dress and a silver mask walked out. A what? Woman? A woman wearing a pure white dress, dressed in a silver mask, walked out. She stepped out of the void and walked across the ground. Her hair was red and her eyes were golden. They were limpid and deep, as if they could see through everyone's hearts. This was just as Audrey. She used, her mask. It's the mask. Got it, it's Lie. She had used Lie to change her height and a mask to conceal her main features. She came to the forsaken lands of the gods, the city of Silver, in the form of a spirit body. What the fuck is Audrey doing here? In fact, the summoning ritual wasn't complicated at all. Klein had pulled Audrey's spirit above the Great Fog ahead of time. He waited for the door of summoning to be established before helping her open it, allowing her to pass through and settle the entire matter. Oh, she's gonna go crazy when she sees the fucking state Moon Cities in. This also meant for the description, that's what the point of the mask. That also meant the description of the Holy Spirit that sees through everything could equally have changed to the sleeping princess, the holder of the golden apple, the previous owner of the crystal slippers, and just as Audrey would still be able to descend, this was dependent on who Klein allowed to pass through the door of summoning. After all, the key points of the ritual was to use the Fool's name for the summoning and using the powers of the Sephiric Castle to communicate with the forsaken lands of the gods. Okay, there are so many layers behind this. The silver masked Audrey secretly surveyed her surroundings. She sized up the lightning-lit sky, the darkness that spelled lurking danger, and the city of Silver's chief, Colin Iliad. She then looked away and nodded at a little son. We can begin. Oh, look, it's her first time seeing him face to face. As she spoke, she could help but sigh at this at his height, because he's tall. As she spoke, she couldn't help but sigh at his height. Although this couldn't be seen during the turret gathering, it was still something that left her in the days when she met him in real life. She remembered very clearly that the son was a few years younger than her. According to low-end standards, he was definitely still underage. To her surprise, he was more than 2 meters tall, fucking 6 feet. This made to Audrey, who had used Lie to deliberately increase her height, she still had... Oh, wait, I wonder... Is Klein matching their heights or no? No, right? She still looked up. This made Audrey, who had used Light to deliberately increase her height, still look up. Fucking shit, 7 feet. God damn, this is a 7 foot tall child. Holy shit. Without any hesitation, Derek relaxed in his mind and cast his gaze at the golden potion placed on the altar. Gradually, he felt a little dazed at the scenes involuntarily flash across his mind. Scenes on his parents who remained alive inside of the coffin, the silver sword that stabbed down hard, the blood that splattered and blinded his eyes momentarily. It was the heartwarming scenes of his family in the past. It was the city of Silver that was on the verge of collapse into darkness. They were teammates who supported each other and watched each other's backs. If the elders standing in front of everyone blocked the storm, it was the repeated curses, the hope he saw in the lightning amidst the darkness. It was a dream that had existed for more than 2,000 years. It was something the generations of people yearned for daily. The emotions of Derek was most unwilling to give up were very complicated. It contains his anger towards reality, the fondness of the past, the pain of his circumstances, the repression of his history, the desire to save the city of Silver. Audrey slowly separated these emotions as though she had experienced the despair and sadness of the city of Silver, experiencing their unity and sacrifices. Her golden eyes sometimes turned gloomy and heavy, while there were glints at the other times as if she grabbed something and had taken it in, yet she still remained lost. After a while, she saw the 12 white winged angels of light. This was another response from Mr. Fool to the sun. Audrey sized up the opportunity and attached all the intense feelings onto the angel phantom, preventing them from disappearing or undergoing a resurgence for a short period of time. By doing so, they didn't stay completely separate from Derek's body. It's done. She didn't open her mouth, but instead allowed her voice to echo in his heart. At this moment, Derek's eyes became abnormally cold, as if he no longer knew what joy, sadness, pain, and depression were. He picked up the golden potion in front of him and poured it into his heart. This was a demigod potion obtained from shattering the unshuttered crucifix. The sealed artifact that originates from the ancient sun god no longer exists. Of course, for Klein, anything he once possessed remained as enduring as the universe. As a hot, violent liquid gushed down Derek's throat. A what? A hot, violent liquid gushed down Derek's throat, instantly filling his entire body and occupying his zone. Rays of bright light. Lovia is 6 feet. Damn. Lovia 6 feet? Damn. Sorry. Back on task. Rays of bright sunlight burst out from his body, washing away the remnants of his body corruption and heaviness of his soul. Derek's body became purer and clearer, like a Holy Spirit formed from pure light. His self-awareness and emotions were being purified and repelled. It wouldn't take long for him to only have the instinct and praise the sun. At this moment, Audrey no longer let the strong emotions that she had stripped from him remain attached to the angel projection. She guided them back towards little sun. One scene after another surfaced in Derek's mind, causing him to experience abnormally complicated emotions. He once again experienced the pain and personality killing his parents, the despair brought about this by the circumstances of the City of Silver, and the joy of receiving Mr. Fool's loving grace. This drilled deep into him, becoming a foundation of his mind world. It was very sturdy and very reliable, allowing him to withstand the last few rounds of the potions of cleansing forces. Finally, Derek opened his eyes. It was pure white. Damn, that's badass. When he saw a ray of light in front of him, he instinctively extended his right hand in an attempt to grab it. However, the light quickly dimmed and extinguished. Derek was stunned for a moment before he clenched his right hand tightly. Beams of light rose up and enveloped the entire City of Silver, the whole city? Not just around him? Beams of light rose up and enveloped the entire City of Silver. The legendary noon descended for a brief moment. All the residents of the City of Silver were stunned by what they saw. This was even more shocking than any of the previous demigod advancements. Sunlight. Holy shit, man. The fucking light seeker, dude. Oh shit. Sunlight. It was sunlight that illuminated the entire city. After ending the summoning, Audrey returned above the great fog. At that moment, Mr. Fool was no longer around. The ancient palace only had the world German Sparrow, who was planning on observing the ritual. "You don't seem to be in a good state?" asked Klein. Audrey sat down and smiled. "I'm just a little edgy, hesitant, and confused." "That's very normal. Before truly making up one's mind, everyone would behave like this. There are countless people who retreat and regret their decisions," Klein calmly said. Audrey didn't directly answer the topic at hand and instead said with a faint smile, "Ever since I became a spectator, I've always displayed what would be the most acceptable side to them in front of them. Taking care of their most delicate emotions, this isn't a bad thing, but this way I won't be able to know what I really look like in the eyes of others. I won't be able to unveil the gorgeous clothes and see the rotting flesh beneath me. I won't be able to figure out the problems. Recently, I've been trying to show my true state in some detail. I want to see how people around me will react under such a situation. I want to see if they will still think that I'm the kind, amiable, and virtuous young lady." At this point, she suddenly fell silent. A few seconds later, she sighed and said, "The gap." Easy be like, this is definitely the light seeker. This is the one. Get out of here, dude. The true light seekers were the friends we made along the way. That's funny. Chapter 1228 is called Wishes. Without waiting for the world German spirit to respond, Audrey, who was maintaining her posture, slowly said a few words. Heaviness, pain, shame. Klein listened silently without commenting on what Mistress said. Instead, he asked in a gentle tone that was closer to the image of Dwayne Dantes, "Why do you suddenly want to do such a test?" "It's not a test." Audrey shook her head. "It's just to reveal the details that I usually hide and avoid. I want to see what I really look like in the eyes of others." After pausing for a moment, she moved her lips without a smile. Okay, we're good. We've recovered. After pausing for a moment, she moved her lips without a smile. "After our previous conversation, I really am trying to come up with a plan. I plan to secretly do something manipulating so that the nobles, businessmen, royal family, and the church can release enough food for their stockpile. Theoretically, this is a simple matter, but when actually trying to put in the action, I realize that I can't be as determined and decisive as I thought. Some of them are my uncles and aunts, some of them are my cousins, some of them are friends I've known since I was young, while others are elders who have been very protective of me. Some of them I often meet with during various charity events and are rather friendly. They formed They formed my childhood and gave me too much. It was a part of my growth as part of the beautiful memories of my past. Besides, the food they accumulated wasn't stolen. Their explanation is actually very reasonable. Hello, hello. I really can do it. To make them my target and attempt to rob them of a portion of their wealth. At least it's like this now. As she spoke, Audrey voiced unknowingly escalated into a crescendo as if she was arguing with someone. She then realized that she had lost her composure and remained silent for 2 seconds before continuing. That's why I want to know more about myself. I want to strip away the false image from our past relationships. Under different circumstances, I want to ask myself what I really want, whether my thoughts in the past were impulsive, hypocritical, and naive, or strong beliefs from my heart. At this point, Audrey suddenly smiled. Although I haven't come to any conclusions, the attempt has already brought some added benefits. I used to think that I had strictly abided by the principles of your only acting, but now I realize that I'm also addicted to acting. That's not good. That's kind of scary. Other pathways require different identities and occupations. The spectator pathways acting is completely consistent with the one's daily life. Sometimes it's hard to clearly differentiate between them. The simplest example, who wouldn't want to be loved by everyone? Hence, when facing different people, I would wear a different mask and use their powers, the spectator pathway, to create an image that suits the other party's expectations the best. When there are more and more such things, when you face everyone who would actually be... I don't know why walls closing in is paying. We should change that. Spectator pathway to create an image that suits the other party's expectations the best. When there are more and more of such things, when you face everyone, you would actually be obsessed with acting. You would almost lose yourself. Klein nodded slightly and said, "That's a good lesson." He didn't comment on Miss Justice's prior words. After a moment of silence, Audrey slowly said, "During this period of time, I've read the Eastboro investigation report that my father hired someone to do. I've experienced many different things." She's definitely addicted to the grind. Before the war, many of the poor people, workers, and farmers have lived lives that are so difficult as the lives today. They've been in constant hunger and pain. The changes to the poor law and the strict laws are the working hours and environment has indeed brought about some improvement to the management of the pollution in the air, but just a little. After the war ends, and if we are to overcome the apocalypse, will such things happen again? As she spoke, Audrey pursed her lips tightly and fell into silence. Klein could sense Miss Justice's confusion and perplexity. After some deliberation, he didn't say the answers in his heart. He said in a deep voice, "These questions of yours, including what you said about your true thoughts, require you to find the answers yourself. No one can replace you. I can only give you some advice. Go to the fields and take a look at the hardworking farmers. Go to the factories and take a look at the diligent workers. Go to the East District and experience them. Go to the library and read through the past newspapers and other related works." Audrey listened attentively and nodded seriously. "I would try." She immediately stood up and bowed towards the end of the long model table. Although Mr. Fool had left, she believed that he was watching. Just as she was waiting for Mr. Fool to send her back to the real world, the world suddenly said, "Hold on." "Oh," Audrey expressed her curiosity with a nasal grunt. Klein looked at her and conjured a piece of paper. "This is a description of the mythical creature's character and behaviors. I hope you can provide me with help. Based on this analysis, determine what kind of reactions he will carry out in different situations." All right, Audrey did not refuse and agreed. After she looked at the piece of paper and finished reading the content, Klein deliberated and said, "Regarding what you said, I have another suggestion. There are two types of questions that you have. Some of them are indeed very pressing, while the others are not. You can wait for things to calm down and do a deeper investigation. While once a person is anxious, they will easily make mistakes. It's best you be clear about the differences." Audrey thought for a moment and nodded solemnly. "I understand." After responding, she suddenly laughed. "I thought you called me at the last moment to give me your blessings, hoping that I will still love this world after seeing the world as it is." Klein was first taken aback before she asked with a smile, "You seem to have read a lot of Emperor Zhou's novels." He is an outstanding novelist and also a very complicated and contradictory person, Audrey said with a faint smile. Klein nodded indiscriminately and spoke slowly. "If I wanted to give you my blessings, I wouldn't have said that. I would have said, I hope that you will still love your family and friends after seeing them as they are." Audrey was taken aback as her lips quivered and as though she was repeating the words. After a few seconds, she closed her eyes and said with a slightly hoarse voice, "Thank you. Sonia C. and the waters of the Roasted Archipelago. The Blue Avenger led a pirate fleet through the battlefield that was ravaged by war." Oh shit. Wars will continue until there is only one or less human left in the whole world. That's so fucked up, man. Oh shit, I'm going back way too much. Suddenly, a huge fire block flew over from nowhere, interweaved silver beam spirits Silver beams split apart on the surface of the sea, creating a passageway that didn't originally exist. Surrounded by the massive waves on both sides and pointing straight at the Blue Avenger, Alger Wilson, who was standing at the bow, raised his right hand, and without a change in expression, when he saw the scene, a violent hurricane suddenly appeared, sweeping up the azure blue seawater and curling up the silver rays like a long snake that shot into the sky, colliding with a huge fireball. Boom. The water splashed down like rain, and Alger immediately looked on the battleship, opening his mouth and let out an angry roar. With a boom, the boat was suddenly lifted into the air by ferocious waves. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the Blue Avenger cannons automatically fired a series of salvos, echoed continuously. Realizing that the Beyonder of the other party's warship was trying to use the force of the fireball's detonation to allow the ship to drift sideways, Alger suddenly pulled down his right hand. A thick bolt of silver lightning struck down, charring the Beyonder's body as he constantly convulsed. Boom. Boom, boom. As artillery shells hit the target, the ships disintegrated in midair. At that moment, Alger felt like a daze and he couldn't help but look down at his right hand. This is the power of a cataclysmic interior. Is this how it feels to be a demigod? He sighed in his heart in a somewhat intoxicated manner before quickly snapping back to senses. He got the Blue Avenger to pursue the enemy. An hour later, the intense sea battle was over. Lowenstein had once again secured the Rorschach archipelago. Alger was in a rather good mood. After returning to the port of the Blue Avenger, he called the sailors down and headed to one of the few bars that was still remained open for business. Lowen had already issued an alcohol ban during wartime. I forgot about this. Demigod Alger. Lowen had already issued an alcohol ban during the wartime as a way to add to the food rationing efforts. But to sailors, alcohol was indispensable. Therefore, in the area controlled by the Church of the Lords of Storms, the restrictions in this area weren't too strict. Furthermore, the Rorschach archipelago had plenty of produce, and there weren't too many people. The shipping lines were under control, so their food supply hadn't been distributed. After walking for a distance, Alger's gaze suddenly froze. The street in front of him had been hit, and many houses had already collapsed. One of them had a huge crater in a concrete field, while the other four stolen buildings beside it were left in ruins. The smile on Alger's face gradually disappeared. Fuck, man. On Monday afternoon, 3 p.m. backland time, dark red beams of light shot up from both sides of the long bronze table, coagulating into blurry figures. After all the members bowed to Mr. Fool, the gathering transaction segments began. Since there weren't any more Roselle diary pages or accumulated questions, Emlyn immediately sat up straight and surveyed the area. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a commission. Which Shaman King do you wish to hunt? Catleya asked according to her understanding of Mr. Moon. Emlyn took 2 seconds to digest this question as he maintained his elegant smile and said, "You guessed correctly." Catleya nodded slightly and said, "What kind of payment can you provide?" Emlyn was once again at a loss for words, a little embarrassed to say what he had prepared to say. At this moment, the world at the bottom of the end of the long table suddenly said, "You found someone from the Rose School of Thought, Temperance faction to cooperate with you." Emlyn heaved a sigh of relief. "That's right. Then I can take on the commission." As this was related to Miss Messenger, Miss Sharon, and Merrick, Klein controlled the world to take the initiative to accept the mission. Of course, this requires a certain medium. Without waiting for Emlyn to respond, he made Gurmensborough look at Miss Magician, make some preparations, and advanced. ... Question mark, Force, who had been waiting the entire time, she's like, what? Make some preparations in advance. Question mark. Force, who had been watching the entire thing play out like a performance, wore a blank look on her face. She's like, why the fuck are you calling me, dude? All right, next chapter. Definitely an airhead. Chapter 1229 is called Collective Wisdom. Seeing that Miss Justice had yet to react, Klein made the world add, "You no need to be there. Just summon my historical projection in advance." All right, Force nodded hurriedly. At that moment, because Gurmensborough had accepted his mission, Emlyn clearly relaxed. From what he knew, this meant that the success rate of this matter had skyrocketed. In the next second, the world looked at him and hoarsely asked, "What kind of payment can you provide?" Emlyn fell silent for 2 seconds before saying, with his eyes darting upward slightly, "Once I become a Shaman King, I'll provide a free promise on a similar matter. Also, I only want the Shaman King's beyond characteristics. The members of the Rose School of Thought Temperance faction should have a clear goal, and the rest will be yours." Mr. Moon isn't very stulid. He doesn't have much confidence. Through his actions and words, Audrey came to a conclusion. This fellow Emlyn has learned how to use consumption loans. Klein secretly laughed and made the world indefinitely reply, "It looks like you can only afford a demigod like me. If Mr. Moon can provide a large amount of food, I don't mind participating," just as Audrey mumbled inwardly. However, she didn't need to say anything to know what Mr. Moon would say. Why would we Sanguine be hoarding so many snacks? To Sanguine, they're staple of the blood of humans with abundancy spirituality. Bread and meat produced were all non-essential. Seeing the world, Gurmensborough didn't reject his offer. Emlyn secretly heaved a sigh of relief. What other requests do you have? I'll try my best to fulfill them. German Sprout thought for a moment before saying, give me a mystical item or sealed artifact that can greatly increase the wielder's spirituality for a short period of time. This was for Miss Magician, allowing her to maintain the historical void projection for a few more minutes. Oh, she can hold it longer for a few more minutes, and there was no doubt that Mr. Moon Domain had such beyond powers. For example, the Scarlet Scholar could create a full moon state, allowing their spirituality to be enhanced. Oh, phew, Emlyn quickly nodded. I forgot about that. All right, no problem. Seeing that the human and vampire had come to an agreement, Forrest hurriedly raised her hand and said, no full moon. That was ignoring the enhancement of her spirituality. She would be considered lucky if she didn't die on the spot. After all, the higher the sequences, the clearer one could hear Mr. Door ravings. I forgot who was it left a comment like, bro, we'd be so dead if we were to isekai to the series, or we transmigrated, like, because we know too much, man. Forrest had long since advanced from Sequence 6 Scribe to Sequence 5 Traveler. Emlyn also knew about Miss Magician's full moon curse, so he had no questions about it. He acknowledged, tersely indicating that he had taken note. At this moment, Olga, who was listening to the completed transaction beside him, said in this thought, although the Beyonders of the Rose School of Thought are easily controlled by their emotions and instincts, this didn't mean that their brains had already disappeared along with their zombification. Even if they're gone, they still have members of the Moon Domain. Since their demigods were directly involved in the Southern Continent's war and have experienced their locations, they wouldn't dismiss the possibility of an attack from the Sanguine and Temperance faction. I believe there's a high chance of them laying a trap. Oh, my eyes hurt. That's right. Leonard echoed. Many Doisers indicate that although the Beyonders of the Rose School of Thought are well known for indulging themselves in bloodshed cruelty and desires they still act are very meticulously, their actions show certain cunningness and sinisterness. She'll glanced at her friend and said, I encountered a supernatural incident involving the Rose School of Thought 2 months ago. The target was obviously deceived and fell into trap. The world Grimmisborough listened attentively before scoffing. He then said to Emlyn, which Shaman King is your target? Emlyn didn't hide anything. The Shaman King who led the natives from the Eastern Balam's northern Orleat County to attack the Lowen's main colonial city. Upon hearing this, a thought flashed across Klein's mind. The Mother Tria, oh, she coming back? Every fanfic with a reader getting into LOTM starts with the sealing their memories. Like, you have to start with your memories being sealed. Yeah, like, we know nothing. The Mother Tree of Desire doesn't seem to want the goddesses to control the uniqueness of the death pathway. She was driving the natives and using the word to wave the fundamental faith of the Church of Evernight in the Southern Continent. As this thought flashed through his mind, he made the world Grim and Sparrow look at Emlyn and chuckle. Then my target will be another Shaman King. This has nothing to do with your operation. There was no need for him to be too direct. Emlyn, Kentley, and company quickly understood his plan. This was a simple plan. Grim Sparrow hunted another Shaman King and took the initiative to step into a trap to attract the hidden forces of the Rose School of Thought. And at that moment, the Moon and the Rose School of Thought's Temperance faction would take the opportunity to attack the real target. Take a moment to attack. Okay. Isn't this too dangerous? Emlyn subconsciously replied. The danger was, of course, directed to Grimminsborough, who would just be walking into the trap. He's good. The world Grimminsborough replied very calmly. It would just be a historical projection. If he dies, so be it. Upon hearing such an answer, Emlyn, Leonard, and the other members of the Terror Club were lost as to what expression to show out response. It was unknown if they should reflect on the fact that the Sequence 3 demigods were so different or be envious the scholars of yore had such beyond powers. Klein continued to let the world speak. If the Rose School of Thought had any doubts about my sudden attack and only divert a portion of their strength to stop me so as to still maintain a relatively complete trap, then I would try to hunt that Shaman King seriously and turn the false target into the true target. After all you want is the corresponding item. You don't care what the original owner is. A simple but effective plan. The key point is that Grimminsborough has to have a strength that exceeds his limits, one that can put up resistance even when facing an angel. Audrey learned from him seriously and evaluated this inwardly. Emlyn no longer had any doubts. After some thought, he said, before the official operation, I need to meet with the members of the Rose School of Thought Temperance faction to finalize the details. The world Grimminsborough nodded and said, make arrangements for it. After the exchange, Klein made the world conjure a paper stack and distributed it to the members of the Terror Club. If some existences and I will be dealing with a mythical creature, you can raise your opinion and share your thoughts. The piece of paper was written with the character and actions of a dark demonic wolf, Courter, as well as the various analysis Miss Justice has made. He hoped that he could find the inspiration through different people with different personalities and knowledge. Mythical creature, the world has the world has set his sights on mythical creatures. Oliver, who had been much quieter than usual, couldn't help but look at the bottom of the end of the long bronze table. Although he had already mentally prepared for this, he felt that he wouldn't be surprised even if the world Grimsparrow suddenly called himself an angel. Yeah, not yet. He will soon. Give it like 30 more chapters and he will. However, when he realized that the other party was really targeting a mythical creature, he couldn't help but feel a little shocked and perturbed. Catlia had similar feelings as well, but she merely recalled the Snake of Fate, the Death Console, and the Ancient Bane. This matched Grimsparrow's words of some existences. It was very normal for 3 angels and a sequence 3 blessed to hunt a mythical creature. One by one, they retracted their gazes from the bottom of the end of the long model table, and they began reading the information in their hands seriously. At this moment, as they weren't involved in the commission or involved in a transaction, nor were they sharing information yet, the members of the Terror Club had a baffling feeling of working together for one common goal. They felt like they were starting to feel like an organization. After reading the contents, Oliver was first to speak. According to Miss Justice's analysis, no bait will trap this paranoid mythical creature. It will only push him to escape further. Under situation of him suspected to be a wielder, a sequence 1 beyond a characteristic, he really doesn't need to chase after other things. Advancing himself is the most important thing at hand. If you want to deal with him, we can only consider it from this point of view. Upon hearing this, Klein said from a professional point of view, but this mythical creature is very cautious. He doesn't leave any clues behind, and according to the intel, the location he can use to prepare for a sequence 1 ritual isn't actually restricted in an environment like the Forsaken Lands of Gods. Yes, there are too many monsters for him to use. Derek confirmed what Misjudgment had said. There was a silence immediately. Leonard thought for a moment and said, "Can we rely on the law beyond our characteristics of convergence?" As he spoke, he looked at Klein Moretti. "That mythical creature seems to be from the same pathway as you. Just relying on the effort that comes from the convergence of beyond our characteristics at this level to chance upon this mythical creature might take a year or two, perhaps even longer. Furthermore, the other party is a complete mythical creature. He had the ability to cause some interference." Klein overruled Lenard's suggestions. Of course, if he augmented the powers of Fairy Castle onto himself, he would be able to meet the Dark Demonic Wolf and the next time. Okay. He used the Staff of the Stars random teleportation. However, the problem was that if that happened, the chances of a coincidental encounter with Amon would be much, much higher. But if it's all randomized, how would it be higher? Much, much higher. This was a standard way of knocking on death's doors. After hearing everyone's discussion, Catlia said and thought, according to what the Queen found taboo, can we use this mythical creature's honorific name to establish a connection? If the Dark Demonic Wolf had been tracked by Amon in the past, that might have been possible, but now what can be thought must have been thought of by Amon. Under such circumstances, the fact that Dark Demonic Wolf hasn't perished implies that he is wary of such matters. The world Grimsparrow shook his head. With his paranoid character, he definitely wouldn't respond automatically, just as he said that he suddenly had an idea. Not receiving a response from the Dark Demonic Wolf didn't mean that he wouldn't pay attention to the corresponding prayer light. Oh yeah, that too. Not a single thought behind those eyes forces such an airhead. Everyone says this. Because Amon has a higher status than KOTOR, so higher convergence. Oh, got it. Higher, got it. He's higher. Because Amon is seeking Klein while KOTOR wants to evade everything. Also this. So both. Amon is a higher status than KOTOR, so higher convergence. Check. The higher the sequence, the higher the convergence. And because he's tracking him and he wants to escape. Got it. He wants to. Okay. Got it. Thank you. All right. I guess we got time for one more, man. All right. Let's read it. Last one. We made it. Last chapter for today. It's called Meeting Again. Who are we meeting again? As he had personal experiences, Klein placed himself in the shoes. Oh, almost forgot to update this. As he had personal experiences, Klein placed himself in the shoes of the Dark Demonic Wolf and pondered. Did I do my timestamps? And pondered. I did. Shit, let me read this again. And pondered. Usually he would shut down the automatic prayer response to prevent an enemy from using the feedback to establish a connection and lock onto his position. Under this premise, to receive a sudden prayer from a stranger, he would no doubt lead to him relying on the corresponding point of light to observe the supplicant and grasp more information. This allowed him to make preparations for what might happen in the future. If the person chanting the honorific name was a powerful existence like Amon or some relatively more familiar, it would be the best to destroy the point of light immediately. However, if the person was a stranger, under such a situation where he was completely safe, he would monitor him for a long period of time to understand the exact situation and see if there was a need for a counter attack. It was something that every rational creature would most likely do. At the very least, Klein would do so. The essence of this matter was that non-mythical creatures were marked by high-level existences. They could die in a baffling and tragic manner at any moment. To the supplicant, this was equivalent to suicide or something even more terrifying. To the dark demonic wolf, it was only a positive outcome, nothing negative. At the beginning, the suspicious dark demonic wolf would definitely suspect that there was a conspiracy. He wouldn't dare to establish a connection and influence Klein from a distance. However, with the passage of time, as the observations depended on a confirmation was made by the other party, was a non-angel weakling who possessed the aura of Sephira Castle with signs of being unprepared, he would definitely find an opportunity to attack from afar. At the time when Klein was mostly unprepared, he would mark the prayer of light and deal a remote attack. I'm following. This aligned with Klein's previous conclusion about his advantage that Klein, I'm very weak. Okay, if you doubt them, you have an advantage. If they think you're weak, you have an advantage. The only problem with this plan was that the initiative was completely in the hands of the dark demonic wolf. Everything Klein did would be monitored, and there was no way to prepare ahead of time. Once the other party tried to exert his influence on him, he would not be able to fight back and would be spared few. By doing so, I would successfully bait the prey, but kill the hunter as a result. It's meaningless, yet if I don't place myself in such a passive position, it will be difficult to bait an angel, the seer pathway, the paranoid dark demonic wolf. This is something that a marionette or others cannot do in my stead. If only I can be certain that the dark demonic wolf wouldn't rashly attack remotely because of his paranoia and will only choose to monitor and observe. Thoughts raced through Klein's mind as he sought out the possibilities amongst numerous impossibilities. With regards to this, he could only sigh inwardly, feeling regretful for not being an angel from the spectator pathway. According to his assumptions, the angels of the spectator pathway would be more or less have some special characteristics. The more the other knows about you, the more you understand them. When the dark demonic wolf monitored him closely through the prayer light and ended up carefully observing an angel from the spectator pathway, his position would undoubtedly be exposed to the other party. Unfortunately, I'm not. Besides, the Spectre Pathway Sequence 2 might not be able to do so. I can only be certain that a Sequence 1 has this special trait. Summoning 008 from the Fog of History. No, let's not talk about whether I can summon that quill without Grizel's travels. Even if I successfully create a projection, the quill is quite a while I am still myself. The Dark Demonic Wolf's understanding of me doesn't make 008 do the reverse. Also, I'm getting lost in the sauce. Also, I can only use it for a mere 2 minutes. It wouldn't be enough to sense anything. It can be used as supplementary to plan right in the development I wish to see happen, making the Dark Demonic Wolf choice appear reasonable so as to eliminate uncertain elements. Klein considered for a long while, but he failed to find a suitable plan to bait his prey. Apart from feeling regretful that he was a Sequence 1 angel of the Spectre Pathway, he had also thought of the cosmos. Just learning of it would result in the corruption from the cosmos. If I had the nature of the cosmos, then after the dark demonic wolf uses the prayer point of light to monitor me, he would be corrupted, allowing me to lock onto him. He would be corrupted? Me to lock onto his position. However, the cosmos nature is higher than that of an angel. How could I have it? I keep feeling that I've forgotten something. Klein made the world. Gurman's bro shake his head indiscriminately as he surveyed the area. There's no need to discuss the answers now. I feel like the music is a little bit low. I'm going to raise it just a smidge. There's no need to discuss the answer now. You can go back and communicate with the right person with suitable methods. He forces his attention of the star Leonard and the hermit Cattleya, hoping that they would be able to advance from the existences that were hoping to get advice from the existences that were more experienced as such as Palazaros and the Queen Mystic Bernadette. As for himself, he would return to Backland with the aid of the historical projection. He would seek advice from Miss Messenger, Will Ossiton, and the ascetic Ariana. This is what it means to seek the opinions of an angel of a quasi-angel before making a major decision. Klein made a self-deprecatory comment. When Leonard and Cattleya heard that, they nodded in unison, all right. Following that, the members of the Terror Club began discussing the situations of the various battlefields until the end of the gathering. After returning to the real world, Leonard, who was resting in St. Samuel Cathedral basement, spoke in a low voice, explaining all the questions that Klein had posed to him and said, "Old man, do you have any suggestions?" This is him trying to obtain the miracle invoker beyond characteristics left behind in the forsaken lands of the gods. Palazaros was first in line before he chuckled. Tell your former colleague that there's no way he can resolve this matter himself. I only have one suggestion, that is to seek help from the fool. If only he knew. Leonardo knew old man's character very well. He hurriedly asked, is this really the only suggestion? Klein's gonna be like, ah, shit. About that. Palazaros harumphed said, that's a mythical creature that even a Mon can't capture. It's possible only by relying on the fool's help. Only then did Leonardo nod inside. It seems that's the only way. Klein, pray to the fool for help. Klein, okay, thank you for the advice. 2 days later, 2 minutes before the meeting time at the Moon, Emlyn had agreed to meet Merrick. Forrest sat on a reclining chair beside the fireplace and listened to the communication on the second floor. She cast her gaze at her friend Shio. If the war continues, Backland will definitely suffer more attacks. Oh, that's not good. Backland will definitely suffer more attacks. Are you really not going to evacuate your mother and brother to the surrounding villages? Shio's short, light blonde hair was parted in an asymmetrical fashion and was neatly combed. Compared to the last year, she looks more serious and had the bearings of an adjudicator. She was like a high-ranking knight leading an order of knights. She hesitantly said, the population in the surrounding villages has reached its limit. Besides, I can still get enough food from MI9 now. Having said that, she paused and said, if the flames of war really reach Backland, take them traveling to Intis and Finnapotter. It seems that's the only way. Just as Ford was about to mention the matter of her buying food in Intis a few days ago, she suddenly heard the alarm ring. She shivered and suddenly sat up straight. She stretched out her right hand, which was wearing a red string, and grabbed it into the air. Her arm sank as she pulled out Germansborough, who was wearing a silk top hat and had a black trench coat without glasses. The cold adventurer's eyes rolled and gained consciousness, reducing the amount of spirituality the Miss Justice had expanded. He nodded gently as he made the glove on his left hand become transparent. In less than a second, Germansborough teleported away and disappeared from Forrest and Shio. Rented apartment. Forrest was stunned for a moment before the corners of her mouth twitched slightly. She turned to Shio and said, I think I'm just a tool. The sky was already dark, but the street lamps were lit up. Only the crimson moon illuminated the entire sky. When Klein arrived at the agreed-upon place, he looked around and saw the unusually cold streets, the burning marks on the walls, and the collapsed buildings not far away for a few seconds. Just based on what he saw, Backland was desolate and dilapidated. It even had the smell of gunpowder wafting through the city. At this moment, Emlyn White walked out of an alley and nodded at the crazy adventurer. According to Germansborough's instructions, he didn't say a word or bow. To prevent any delay in whatever precious time, Germansborough had led him to a nearby house and knocked on the door rhythmically. With a creak, the door opened automatically, revealing a dark environment blanketed with faint moonlight. The moment Emlyn and Klein entered, they saw the white shirt and the black-vested Merrick sitting on the sofa. The door behind them seemed to have a life of its own as it slammed to a close. After taking a glance at him, Emlyn smiled and pointed at him. This is my partner, Mr. Germansborough. Oh, no way. Merrick is gonna be like, Sherlock, it's been so long. This is my partner, Mr. Germansborough. Just as he finished speaking, he suddenly realized the way Merrick looked at him was even odder, as though he was examining an idiot. Oh, this is so fucking funny. Long time no see. Merrick immediately stood up, pressed his hand to his chest, and bowed as Sherlock Moriarty. Since the other party didn't appear in the image of Sherlock Moriarty, he definitely wouldn't have taken the initiative to mention such matters. Long time no see. Klein took off his hat and surveyed the area. Make sure and please come out of the discussion. I have limited time. As he spoke, he took out a silver adventurer's harmonica and blew into it. A figure wearing a dark and complicated long dress holding 4 blonde red eye heads walked out from the void. Oh, it's about time, man. The old gang is back. Well, not the old gang, but like the old Old gang is back. No. The second oldest gang is back. The messenger summoned by the harmonica's historical projection was an objective existence. It didn't increase in spirituality burden the force. Oh, it didn't increase the spirituality burden the force. At the same time, Merrick nodded and said, all right. He cast his gaze on the high stool on the other side of the room. Emlyn looked at the Wraith in the Days, that then at Gurman Sparrow and the spirit world creature he summoned. For some reason, he felt like he had been ostracized and didn't belong here. He gotta figure it out, man. And on that high stool, a figure quickly aligned herself. Her skin was fair like a doll, and she wore an exquisite black regal dress and a small bonnet of the same color. Her blonde hair and blue eyes were slightly pale in color. Yo, dude, that is so cool, dude. Ah, that's so fucking hype. There's no way she hasn't digested her puppet potion already, right? Like, she has to be puppet. There's no shot she isn't already, like, digesting puppet. Fuck, wait. Yeah, no, she has to have digested puppet. She originally mentioned it'd take her at least like 6 months to digest the potion, and since we had like a 6 month mini time skip with Klein roaming Forsaken Lands, I think she's ready. I think she's done with puppet. My queen, fucking our queen Zen. Oh, that's good, man. Beautiful, beautiful. I did my timestamps. Let's get this ready for tomorrow. My queen, I'm telling you, Zen. Sure, there's no shot she hasn't digested her freaking puppet potion. She said it would take her 6 months, and 6 months are literally over. I think we're good, man. I think we're good. We're lock and loaded. And let me quickly pull up all the extra artwork that was sent. I don't know if I forgot if I looked at it on stream or not. I'm sorry, chat isn't on stream. I forgot to put it. But look at this, man. Damn, this guy's fucking dripped out, dude. Look at fucking Klein. Damn, look at this fucking staff. Is this the staff of mysteries? Look at this hat. Damn, this is some good ass fucking. Oh my god. Damn, man. I gotta stop looking at Dally. I need to actually just stop looking at Dally. Holy shit, look at Leonard, man. Damn, his shoulders look fucking broader though. I'll tell you that much. Look at this dude. That's good. Oh, look at Dunn. This one's beautiful. This is a good one, man. Oh, there's more right here? Oh, this Audrey? Bro, read the message about woman, but not my 2 messages pinging him. Wait. Wait, my bad. What was that, Kemi? You pinged me? I'm so sorry. Oh, I see it. Oh, I'm so sorry. Wait, hold up. I can't swipe. It's not letting me swipe properly. So, Klein is thinking of praying to Kotor and having a look at him before using the connection to... Wait. Klein is thinking of praying to Kotor and have Kotor look at Klein before using that connection to find him. He's thinking of ways to make this work right now. By the way, I think if you saw my comment, but you should take off the eye of the moon for your last video's thumbnail. Oh yeah, that might be. Oh, I forgot to ask you guys. Is that too much? Was that too much? Was the one eye too much? What if we just do 2 eyes? No? Okay, we'll take it off. The moon in the title is fine, but the eye is too much in my opinion. Okay, we'll take it off. Yeah, we'll take it off. I feel like anybody reading it would know when I put they see or they watch. I think they'll know. Okay, so we'll take off the eye though, just for other people. I got you. Damn, look at this artwork though. I got you. I'll take it off then. Damn, look at this. This is fucking badass. Look at this. It's so weird. This is so fucking cool with the moon in the background. What the fuck? Damn, that is sick. I missed the last stream. I missed the reveal. I'm sorry, Meg. I know. I'm sorry. I know my streaming times are kind of like bad for you guys. Oh my god. Is that old man? Is that Palazaros? No fucking shot that isn't him. Is that Palas? The vid is out. What the fuck? Oh, this is good. That's a good one. Damn, this is a good ass picture. I'm sorry chat isn't on screen. God damn, man. Jesus. Oh my god. I need a 4K like resed picture. Oh, it's not Palaz. Oh, okay. The only way I can see it not being Palaz is because the hairstyle kind of looks like him. I guess this can just be like his shadow, but I was like, okay, it's probably like referencing Palas, but it's okay. I can see how it's not Palas because it's the same hairstyle as him. But look at this, man. Jesus, hallelujah. I need a 4K res picture of this, and this is gonna be my new permanent wallpaper. Damn, look at Dunn, man. Look at this dude. This is when Klein would walk in and he'd be like, oh, I forgot. I was thinking KOTOR comes after the reveal. Jeez, man. What a damn good wallpaper. That's gonna be a good future wallpaper. All right, man. I think that's it. I'm gonna let you beautiful people go. We made it just in time. We can finish stream just shy of 4 minutes before I have to head it out. Before I have to head out. I love you all. We'll be back tomorrow for roughly another 5 chapters. I do plan on making another Critical Role video just because the first video did really well. And I feel like at least I'll be good for the channel. And I am having a lot of fun watching it, man. Episode 1 was like 4 hours and something minutes, and it was really good. So I'm excited to watch episode 2 in the next hour or so. And then I'll probably make a video. And then after I'm done with that video, we should be able to go live and knock out another 5 chapters. And I know I said I was going to stream all day Saturday or Sunday. Let me double check. I need at least 1 day with the misses. And then I need, okay, 32 to 36 is together. Okay. I need at least 1 day with the misses. Fuck. All right, we'll see. We'll see how we're going to do it. We'll see how we'll do it. I'll let you all go. Have an amazing, beautiful day, and I'll see you guys all very, very soon. Peace. Peace out.